we're going to make a visitor management application, something really simple, something that every office uses, and something that everyone can kind of grasp. So the idea is we just want to get you in here moving some parts around in Creator because you've heard a lot about it, you've heard about all these things and what it can do. Now I want to show you a little bit more practical use of it. So the scenario, you're asked to move from the spreadsheet-based visitor management to a cloud-based application that can collect info, move existing data, so you have pre-existing records and things that you want to move into this application that we'll all be developing today. And you want to enable reports. So data reports, your bosses need data, they need reports on who's coming, who's going, why they're doing what they're doing. So why Creator? Why is Creator a good fit for this? You've heard a lot about this, so I'm going to briefly go over it. Digital records instantly. Everything that you make in Creator pushes a record up. It's a digital record. There's no more somebody has to write this thing on the paper and then give it to somebody else and then it gets put in the system. There's none of that. It's instant. Inherent organization and efficiency, so it's searchable, sortable. You'll see an example of that. And it's versatile. So if you want to add on to this app, it's very easy to do that. You can do it very quickly, just a few clicks, and it doesn't damage or destroy any of the data you put in before it. So let's start making one. First thing we're going to do is I want to get everyone on the same page here. So go to creator.zoho.com. And we have people around the room too that'll help you. Maybe you have forgotten a password. Maybe you had a trial that's expired already. We can take care of all those problems for you. So I just want to make sure everyone's on the same page here. And from here, we'll either sign up or sign in up here in the right-hand corner. And I'll be walking around the room to make sure everyone's doing okay.
So we're just going to sign into Zoho Creator right now. You should have the that first screen open where you're allowed to, there's a button on the top right that says Create Application. You should have that available, be roughly at that spot.
If anyone has any problems, don't hesitate to raise a hand. We can get someone over there to help you. All right, so now that you're hopefully looking at Creator, I'll explain the 4 exercises that we're going to do today in these next couple sessions. Exercise 1, we're going to create an application from scratch. So there are a few options for application building in Creator. This one's going to explore from the ground up one. We're not going to start with a template or anything. We're creating a visitor management application from the ground floor. Access the application and explore the forms and reports. So that's simply viewing what we've made, viewing the different ways it can sort data, move existing spreadsheet data into your application, and create a relationship between 2 forms. Those 2 exercises will be done after me. Someone will come up, my colleague named Anish. He'll come up and walk you through those things. But for now, let's focus on exercise 1, create an application from scratch. So task 1 is create a visitor sign-in form with the necessary fields. Forms, fields, these things you may not know what they mean. All these things will be contextualized and explained once we're in Creator. So after you sign up, sign in, you're presented with this screen. It lists any possible applications you've made before it. You probably don't have any of those yet, obviously.
Is everybody signed in and good? Round of applause. Everyone's good. We're ready to move forward.
You need help over here? Okay. No problem. No problem.
Okay. So yeah, we're going to just hold up. We're going to move through this together. That's why we're here to do the workshop, and that's why I have a microphone, so you can hear me say more wonderful and beautiful, poetic, intelligent things, which I don't have anything to say at the moment. I'll come up with some.
So we're just getting everyone caught up before we move ahead.
It'll go more smoothly after we get people just signed in. It's a contextual change to sit in your seat and listen to 2 hours of presentations and then all of a sudden be asked to bring up an application on your device. So just bear with us. We'll get going. I know it always feels like it should be able to go faster, but this is the pace of massive group collaborativity. Or collaboration, rather, I guess. collaborativity I don't think is a word, which is sad because I'm an English major, right?
So depending on your use with Creator, you might be presented with a different screen if you don't have any applications available. As long as you see a big button that says Create Application, you're at the right screen. There are a few different versions based on your experience and what you've done with it. But they'll all go to the same place, so don't worry if it doesn't look exactly like this. As long as you see the button, you will be okay. Okay. Okay.
So we should be good here. So let's go ahead and move on.
Alrighty. So, first thing we're going to want to do, obviously, is hit the Create Application button. From there, you'll be presented with this screen. Now, this screen gives you a few options. We're going to go with one in particular. We're going to go with From Scratch. Other options you have here are the Application Gallery, where you can view templates and other things and build an application based on some tools we've already given you, or just build out data using the tools in the application that are presented to you. Another is Import File. That would be useful if you have data before that's already been in a different system in the form of any number of Excel spreadsheets or FileMaker Access. We have integration with a lot of different things. That would be your option. But for today, we're going to go from scratch, create your first application from scratch. So just click on that. You should see this screen here. Is everyone doing okay? Is everyone doing good? Yeah, we're doing all right? All right. So this is where you want to give your application a name. Obviously, you want it to be something that's kind of descriptive of what the application is going to do. As I said earlier, today, we will be making a visitor registration app. So let's just name it that. Okay. And let's hit create. And there you're going to see it's building. It's creating here for you your first application, getting you ready to do all the nitty-gritty. Give it a moment to load. We're stalling out here, so let me hit create again. Oh, what's that? Took you a while too?
Yeah, it's just a Wi-Fi issue, essentially, just trying to handle the load of everyone, basically creating an application on Creator. It has nothing to do with Creator, it's just the Wi-Fi right now in the building. There's a bunch of devices connected to it. Should be working in just a few seconds.
Okay. So here we are. Are we all at this screen? Anyone else stall out? We doing good? Wait a moment. Good to go? All right. So this screen is the meat of Creator. This is where you're going to do all the building outside of any code stuff. This is all the drag and drop tools. This is everything you need to build a very effective application. So we often call this the application builder screen, just to give you a little bit of a rundown of what you're looking at, because I know it can be a lot here. The form, Untitled form, we like to think of forms as the piece of paper. So previously on someone's desk, you might have had this piece of paper, and it would say name, it would say date you came in. I just went to the dentist the other day, and they had me fill out this form. Instead of that, they have to take that, they have to read your handwriting. It's probably not the best, like mine. And from there, they have to parse all that, upload it, and then keep all that in records somewhere digitally. We're going to do that all digitally right away. We're going to skip the whole paper step. But this form section is essentially what the user will be looking at. The fields section gives you various different options for things you can drag and drop in there. It's very easy to do this. But first, let's focus on the form. See form title here? So what would this piece of paper be called if you had to give it a name? This piece of paper that's being used for visitor registration. It'd probably be called something like visitor sign-in. So let's name it visitor sign-in. On the form title, under form properties, this box gives you all the info about this form, and it edits and it updates in real time. So visitor sign-in. Hit enter when you're done. You'll see it's saving changes up top. Okay. So now we have our visitor sign-in form. Creator gives you a blank form immediately upon creating a new application, and now we've just renamed it to something a little more descriptive, a little more useful for our desires here. Is everyone doing okay? Everyone has this? All right. So we're going to get a little bit deeper here to the fields section. As I said before, fields are where your users input data. They'll see these, and based on the type of field, they'll put in a specific kind of data. So an example might be the single line field here. So you want to put that in the form, you just click it, drag it, and drop it. Adding. All right, so now you have a single line field in there. If your user sees single line, that's not very descriptive, it's not very helpful. So let's switch that up a little bit. Let's change the name of that. Instead of single line, you'll see that highlighted over here in the field properties box, which is right next to the form properties box. These two things are linked, so we wanted them close in the UI. Field name, let's change it to just name. So this is where the user of this visitor sign-in form will put their name in. Hit enter when you're done. Really basic, really straightforward, just a name. From there, let's go ahead and add more of these fields. So what are some other pieces of data you would want from a visitor that's visiting your office? The date, email, exactly. So let's start out with email. Now some of these fields are specialized fields, including the email field. What that means is very simple. It means any data put into it, it just applies a simple check to it. We'll see a little bit down the road what that means for your user. So if they put in something that's not an email address, something that's nonsensical, maybe doesn't have a dot in it, whether it be a .com, .org, whatever, it'll call on that and give you an error when trying to submit the form. So let's add, next, let's go with a number field. Number fields, same thing, specialized field. The only check it does is checks if there are numbers in there. So let's change that name over here in the field properties box to phone number. Just hit enter when it's done. It updates and saves. This is a visitor sign-in thing. You might also be interested to know the company name of the person visiting. So again, useful for that, just putting in plain text. That's all we want. So a single line field, drag and drop that in after phone number. Same procedure, it adds. Slowly adding. Yeah. Taking its time on this Wi-Fi. I'm going to refresh. If you're having the same problem, feel free to do the same. Single line field again. All right, there it is this time. And so I'm going to name this one company name in the field properties area. Hit enter. All right, so now something crucial that's in every visitor form. When is this person visiting? Without that, you really have no way of tracking them, no way of knowing when they interacted with your business. So to do that, amongst all these fields, very simple, we have a date field. This is yet another specialized field. Already has the name date, so I'm going to leave that there. That's fine. When a user clicks on that, it'll give them a drop-down little calendar, so you don't have to deal with formatting, whatever strange way they decide to put in their date, it's always the same. So it's very hard to make a mistake there unless they simply just don't know what day it is. Reason for visit. How about that one? So if someone's visiting the office, maybe you want to know whether it's personal or business. Prioritize based on that. Determine who they're trying to visit. That could determine how important it is, whether they see that person immediately. So for that, if we only want 2 options, we don't really want to give them a single line field. Because if we're trying to sort these things, maybe someone misspells personal, or it's not caps, and you search for it and it doesn't line up. So you want to restrict the user to 2 options in this case. So a perfect use here would be the drop-down box. So click and drag. All right, there it is. So again, changing the field name. Let's change it to reason for visit. Hit enter. All right. So it's changed over here now. And now in the field properties area, that lets you edit all the properties of the field. So if you were wondering how are we going to change the choices here, there's specifically a choices section where we can add, subtract, or edit existing choices. So we just want the 2. We just want business and personal. So let's go over to this third one here. And we're just going to hit the minus button. That'll remove it. So now we have 2 choices. From here, we can edit those to be whichever we choose. So for the first, I'm going to put business. For the second, personal. Hit enter. All right, so now we have our reason for visit box. Another bit of useful information for that might be, whom do you want to visit? Why are you here? Is it business, personal? And based on that, is there someone in particular you want to visit? So for that, I've put another single line box here because the answer to this should be fairly succinct. We don't need multi-line. We just need something straightforward. Who do you want to visit? Naturally, let's rename it that. Typos aside, of course. What's that? Whom? Whom? It would be nice. I actually struggled. I was trying to figure out whether it was who or whom because I didn't want to look like a fool on stage. And I managed to do that with my fat fingers anyway. But this will do. Yes, thank you. No, it's fine. Whom would be a much better word. All right, and lastly, description. Maybe you want to give them somewhere to put a description of why they're visiting, who, for what reason, and more specifically, why. So for that, let's just do multi-line. And name it description. Okay. So how's everyone doing up to this point? Dragging and dropping? We good? Anyone need help? Don't be afraid to ask. We've got many people around here willing to give you a hand. Okay, we have someone over here. So let's just take a chill out. We'll resume in a moment. Okay. So how are we looking? Still doing a little over? Take your time, no problem, no problem. Alrighty. So let's move forward here now. Really good out there. Alrighty. So let's just run over what we've done so far. We're in the visitor registration application. Here's the application builder screen, as you can see. Here are some fields that we've added into this form. Visitor sign-in form. Form is like a piece of paper. Fields are like lines on that piece of paper that can be more specialized than just any regular line on a piece of paper. And here are the properties of both our form, here in the center, and our fields. So, now that we have this built out, maybe you want to see what it looks like when a user is interacting with it. Because this looks nice for you, but how would it look for the user? So to do that, it's very simple. This green button up top, just hit it, access this application, and it will take you to what the user will see, to the live version of your application. So there it is. Just like that, you already have something that can be used right away for your office. So maybe a user seeing this screen and they think, okay, well, I just don't want to put anything here. I just want to get past this, blow through this visitor sign-in form, whatever. I don't want to deal with it. To do that would be kind of a bummer for you because you're trying to collect that data. You want that data. So let's go to edit this application. This is how you bounce between live and application editing mode. Let's just add one more thing. So now you're back in the application builder screen. And let's add a small decision box here at the end. So you see this field here. Drag and drop it to the very bottom. And let's just name it something like I agree to the terms and conditions. And now, if these terms and conditions were told to the user of this application beforehand, you can simply make it mandatory through validation that they hit this thing. That way you don't have anyone passing up the visitor sign-in form that has seen it. So over here in the field properties, with this field selected, you can actually see the field properties change based on which field you're selecting. So with this one selected, click mandatory. And now you'll see a little asterisk right there. So what this means is with this decision box field, if the user is using the app and they try and just blow through and hit submit, it'll give them an error and they won't be allowed to submit it because they haven't filled out this particular field, this particular piece of information. So with that now, let's go back to access this application. And now you'll see if I try to submit without hitting that box, it gives me an error message, invalid entries found, please correct and submit again. And then it specifies what the issue is here. So check, I agree to the terms. Now if I do that, it'll go ahead. Data added successfully. And so now that's been logged. That information, if someone, okay, good, getting help. That information is held in the report. So every form that we have, every piece of paper, essentially, that has data put on it, has an associated report. That report stores and sorts all the data submitted through that form. It's very simple. So this form, the visitor sign-in form, has the associated report, visitor sign-in report, up here in the upper left, in the live view of your app. So if you hit that, it would give you any data entered. As you can see, the only data I entered was that I agreed to the terms and conditions, true, but it's there. So if someone was to enter name, email, anything like that, say you have 100 people, it's much easier to go through this and sort it and search it than it is to look through a stack of papers and visitor sign-in forms and do all that boring, laborious, tedious work just to find a single person. On this, you can just search, and if they've used the app, it'll find them. So let's review what we went over. Oh yeah, sure.
what's the difference in field types between the decision box versus if I had like a checkbox field with one choice and a validation rule there? Like why is a decision box a field type?
Outside of like a checkbox? Checkbox would typically be used for if you're having multiple options. You wouldn't want a checkbox because a checkbox is a single thing that you want to draw attention to. The formatting on it's a little different. And you can make any of these fields mandatory. So if you decide that it's very important that you get the person's email, you can go into the validation for that field and hit mandatory. Now that's mandatory. So you can make any of these mandatory. It's just different use cases for different fields. And in this case, it would make more sense to have a decision box than a checkbox because a checkbox is tuned from the bottom up for more of a selection type scenario. So which am I choosing out of these multiple options?
So does anybody else have any questions kind of this nature? Like things that you're wondering about why use this over this? Does anybody have any of those kind of similar questions? This would be a good time to field some of those. Got one over here. Hold on. Let me run over to you.
What is the radio button? Is that like a multiple choice? Maybe I just saw a different version of Zoho when I was using this.
Yeah, I can throw that in here and show you. So it is multiple choice. It's different. You can have it so that they select multiple or either or situation. It's a different way to approach that, and it has different specifics in how the user might interact with it. A use case for radio versus checkbox.
One way is that the radio would be mutually exclusive.
Yes.
Right? So you're setting a channel, you're making a choice, whereas the checkbox, you'd be able to check multiple things.
Right. So if I was at a store and they sell big hats and little hats and medium hats, and I love all these hats, and I think I want to buy all these hats, if I saw the radio field and it said big, little, small hat, I'd have to choose which hat I love the most. Whereas if I had a checkbox, I could choose all the hats because I love all the hats and I need all the hats. In that case, I'd want a checkbox because I want someone in my store to be able to choose and buy multiple things.
Example could be payment. How do you want to pay? Credit card. So you want to pick one, right? So you choose that.
You don't want someone doing Visa and MasterCard and splitting and screwing up your system. Yep.
Can you change the layout of the radio buttons so they're horizontal instead of vertical?
The question was, can you change those into a horizontal display rather than vertical?
Yeah, there are different ways to display these. The field properties wouldn't let you do that, but you can do that sort of thing in Deluge. And you can also edit a little bit of the appearance down here. But something super specific like that, you might have to dip into Deluge just a tiny bit. Anything else? Yeah.
Are the error messages configurable?
Yes, yes they are.
When it says, redo or invalid data, can I put something in specific to that form?
Yeah. Yeah, and so are the success messages. So for example, in the form, right, you can see the submit and reset buttons. If you click those in the application builder, obviously it's not going to submit out of nowhere. You're just going to hit submit. You can rename the button, and you can change the success data to successfully message. A good example would be Taylor's ping pong app. He's done that and changed it based on where you're entering the data on what form.
Yeah, and so then we'll have one more question right here for this kind of section, and then Travis will keep moving forward. So here you are.
Hi, I like the idea of the radio option, but
Yeah.
let's say that we've already created those apps that we have and we have those checkbox. Is there a way to change that into a radio instead of like deleting it and then again creating a new one which has the options of radio?
So changing a field without changing the data within the field?
Yeah, without having to delete it so you don't have to create a new one, a new
Yeah.
field.
That'd be a good question for one of the experts over here.
It depends on the type. So if, for example, you use a radio, you can change it to a drop-down because like you cannot select one item at a time, right? So it depends on the type. So we can change a single line to a multi-line. It depends on the type. You cannot change a checkbox to a radio because you have multiple values checked here. You cannot transfer into like one value. It depends on that.
Okay.
All right, so Travis will keep moving forward now with the workshop. Those are really good questions. If you have more questions, just keep thinking about them. You can ask the experts as we're wandering around. We can also kind of keep doing these little Q&A sessions, so you know we're getting some real value out of these sessions.
Okay, so these are the tasks we've completed so far, just a few of them. We created a visitor sign-in form, added the necessary fields that you would typically find on a form like that. Customize the form success message. I showed you that when I clicked on submit and started to edit that. And the field placements. Make name and email fields mandatory. We're going to skip that. I just want to keep the only field I want mandatory is specifically the agree to terms and conditions field. But like I showed you, you can make any field mandatory you choose. Avoid duplicate values in the phone number field. To do that, oops. So very simple, yet another example of what you can do with field properties. Over here under validation, you can hit mandatory, and you can also hit no duplicate values. So right now, I just want no duplicate values. So that's going to avoid some problems someone might have when they're signing up in a form. And it would avoid people signing up with the same phone number over and over again. Okay. Complete those tasks. So now we looked at the forms and reports, but let's actually move into accessing the form on mobile. So if you have a phone, Android, iPhone, go ahead and turn that on. I'm going to show you how easy it is to access this form on your mobile and how it formats this application specifically for your device right away. So if you could switch me to AirPlay. Okay. All right, there I am. So you see here, I'm going to go into the App Store. And very easily, just search Zoho Creator. Okay, search that. And just download and install that. I already have it on my phone. But this would be the screen you go to. I'll give you a minute to download and install everything. If anyone needs any help, remember we have a lot of people around the room that can help you out with any issue you may have or just any question you may have for us. And then from there, you're going to just want to log into the account that you used to make this app so that we can access this app specifically. Because as soon as you log in, you're going to have access to whatever apps you've made under that account right away. There's no downloading, nothing like that. It's all in your account. All right, I see some people accessing their app so far. See more eyes up. Everyone doing good? Everyone got it? Signed in? Okay. All right, so Once you're in the app, you're going to see a list of your applications. So I'm going to go to Visitor Management. Then you see your forms and reports associated within that application right here. We want to mess around with the application itself, so specifically the form section of it, not the report section. We don't need to look at any data we've put in yet. So just select the top option, Visitor Sign In. All right, and there you can see every field we just made on the desktop is available on your mobile app, on your account right away. So let's explore these fields a little bit. Earlier I explained the email account is specialized and does a check to determine whether what someone put in could even potentially be a valid email address. So let's put in some nonsense. There's just some random letters. Who cares? Let's go. All right. And let's try and submit that. Invalid entries found gives me an error message. And enter a valid email address or email. So because there is no dot in there, there's no @ it knows that whatever I put in, this can't possibly be an email address. So this is just one example of how a field can have specialized requirements for submission, and one example of why an email field, despite being similar to a name field in that you can both just input characters into them, is obviously better for email because it has those specialized checks built in. Another example is the date field. So the date field, again, specialized. So if I hit it, it already knows what device I'm on and knows how to format appropriately. There's no extra work you have to do for that. It's built in. How's everyone doing? Questions? Concerns? Doing okay? Doing all right? All right. One question. Yeah.
On the mobile app, can you build or edit the form?
Can you build? No, we have a separate thing for that. Yeah. This is for accessing and viewing data. So for, yeah. No.
For the rest of the people, are there any restrictions on the app itself? Say if you were using the app on like a low power tablet.
As long as that tablet has access to an app store that offers this, which I would think, Android, iOS, Amazon. Yeah. Power is not an issue with this. It's very, very low impact. So you should never see a situation where accessing the app, you don't have enough power or juice in the computer to do that. You should be perfectly fine. Any other questions? Concerns? We all good? Good? Okay. So last thing we want to do before I push it off to Anish. Review the form in the mobile app. And now I want to set a push notification for every submission. So say you're in your office, you want to know every time someone comes in, right? To do that, it's very simple. You want it pushed to your phone. So in the right-hand corner, hit Settings. You can see the little cog up there. That's what I just hit. Might be a little different for Android, but it's going to be up there. Settings, push notification, and visitor sign-in report. So check that. If it's not checked, check it already. And now, every time someone signs in, you'll get a push notification straight to your phone. So you'll know everyone that's coming to the office and what information they've input. So in that way, it's secure. You know who's there, who's not there. And I've actually had Dylan submit. Oh, Dylan right there. He just submitted a push note. He just signed in. I accidentally hit the push notification. And now it shows me all the information he put in, which I can now also view in my report.
We're actually going to do the notification again so you can see it.
Sure. So Dylan's going to sign in like he just came to the office. He's going to sign in on the Creator app that I've shared with him. And there you see visitor sign-in report, it just pushed to me the information that a report has been updated. Dylan signed in, he's in the office.
So I don't know if you guys noticed, but it said Dylan true. And the reason that it said true is because we added that little checkbox at the bottom. And so that's just kind of like the back-end code thing. It's called a Boolean. It's a yes or a no, a true or a false. So when you check that checkbox in the back end of Creator, it's saving that response as true or false. So if it's that's part of the reason why you use that single checkbox instead of using the multi-checkbox, is that it helps you out later on when you're doing Deluge. So I know that was kind of a confusing explanation, but once we get into Deluge, we'll go back to that and we'll cover that again.
So using a field that's specifically tuned for data that you want will let you, down the line, better be able to manipulate that data in a way that makes sense for your application. And that's all for me. We're now going to move on to exercise 3.
Yep. Okay. So how about a round of applause for Travis for leading us through that first part of it. Now we're going to welcome Anish to the stage. Anish is going to lead us through exercises 3 and 4. Travis will still be wandering around the room. We're just doing a change so you can, you don't have to look at Travis for, 2 hours, because who wants to do that, right? Okay, so how's everyone feeling so far? Are we doing okay? We're moving along at a decent clip. I mean, remember, there's 60 of you in here, 70 of you. So it's one of those things where we have to, try to make sure everyone's on board. If we're in the middle of an exercise and you've pretty much are like superpower, amazing, awesome user, and you've just knocked it out, and you're feeling bored, just grab one of us too. If you have some other question, we can quietly talk to you about that so you don't feel like you're wasting your time if that's the case, okay? So we'll do some new stuff now, starting with moving spreadsheets into your application. So Anish will go ahead and start that. Why don't you give Anish a nice warm welcome like you've been doing all day. You guys are doing a great job. You have a lot of energy. I'm very impressed. Definitely one of the better audiences I've seen. So yeah, Anish.
Hi everybody. Am I audible? Yeah. I'm Anish and I'm from the Creator Marketing team. So I'll take you through the next exercises. So we have seen how Travis built a first form, which was a visitor sign-in form. And he showed you how to access the data on mobile as well as on the web. Now let's think about that scenario first. People were managing their visitors with a spreadsheet, and now they are moving into an application, a cloud-based application. So when they move to a cloud-based application, they don't want to lose all the data which they collected in the spreadsheet. So ideally, all the information that's on the spreadsheet should come inside the new application. So when we think about it, a visitor management application is complete only with 2 sets of people. One is the set of visitors, next would be the set of employees. Because every visitor is going to meet one of the employees. So this application should have both information, both employee details and the visitor details. So we will right now try to import the existing employee details into this application. So that is the task 1 of this exercise. And I have the files which I'm going to import in this location. So what I'll do is I'll just do that first and let you do it after me. So I go into the product again. So this is the first form which we have created. So there are multiple ways of creating a form itself. You can do this, building it from scratch, like, dragging and dropping the fields, or you can import the spreadsheet as well. So what will happen is when you import a spreadsheet, all the columns that you have, let us say the employee details form spreadsheet which I'm going to import as the name, email, and the title of the person. All the columns will be automatically converted as the fields of a particular form. So let's see how we can do that. I go to create new and I click on form, and I have three options. One is create from scratch, which is the one Travis just demonstrated in its previous session. Then we have import file. This is the one I'm going to do now. I click on browse, and I have already downloaded all these files here on my desktop, so it will be easier for me to just use it. So once I try to import it, there is a new page that is opening. So what this page is about is there is a field type which you see, and where there is a name, label name. So the row 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the information available in the spreadsheet. In the spreadsheet, there's an employee by name, Juan Watkins, his email address, and his title. We're going to import the data. What you see here is a preview. So there are two steps involved here, like trying to match the fields in the new form which is about to be created and the columns in the Excel file, which we are going to import. Now let's see that. Please.
Could you, at this part of the process, split that name field into
That would not be possible. You have to go and change the spreadsheet itself, have a new column. So let me show you the spreadsheet that we imported and the data available here. So the data that was available in the spreadsheet now has automatically been imported here. The exact data, the name, all the employees' names are there, the email addresses are there, and the titles. This is the list of information, and as you can see, there is a form also created parallelly. Yeah, I'll be giving time to do that, so just completed this. So what we learned in this process is creating a new form by importing an existing spreadsheet. Like, whatever data that you have already, you can import that into Creator, and it will be automatically created as a form, and the existing data as corresponding report. So now I'll give you some time to do that yourself, and let's go back. So this is the particular link from where you can download the particular files, Excel files. Sorry. Has everybody noted down this particular field, this particular URL? It's zoho.2/creator workshop 2016. zoho.2/creator workshop 2016. Let me do that for you. Once you go to that link, you will have two folders, day 1 and day 2. We are on day 1. I click at that, and there is a zip file, visitor management.zip. Click on that, and there will be a new window open. And on the right bottom, you will have the link to download it. So I'll do that again for you. Zoho.tools/Creator Workshop 2016. It will take you to this screen where you will have two folders. One is day 1, one is day 2. Go to day 1. There is a zip file, visitor management.zip. Click on that. New screen would be open. On the right bottom, there would be a download icon. Click on that, and you will have it downloaded. Yep. Yep. Zoho.tools/Creator Workshop 2016. Yeah, I hope everybody has downloaded. Now let me show you once again how to do that. Right now we are in the live mode of the application. You click on edit this application over here. I click on edit and I come to create new form, import file, click on browse. I go to the particular location where I have downloaded the files and use it. Yep. Okay. So whenever a new form is created, on the background there is a section created. So you can see there's a section called visitor sign-in, which was created when Travis created the form. So there are two options. I could have placed it under visitor sign-in or create a new section. So you won't be doing a parent-child relationship there. You will be just organizing it. A section is a way to organize it, that's all. Yep. Excuse me? Sean, need any help?
Okay, so are we doing better with this this task of basically getting the spreadsheet situation sorted out? I mean, are we, show of hands, are we still needing more time to figure that out, or are we relatively good? I see 1 thumbs up, 3 5, but 2 of those were from the same person. 7 again. All right, so okay, more thumbs. Flurry of thumbs. Okay, so
Shall we?
go ahead and move forward.
So I hope everybody has imported their employee listing, and you have this report here, the employee listing report. And you can see the form was automatically created. Now if you look at it, the form has name employee listing. Let's change it to employee details. How do we do that? Let's click on edit this application. And I will go into the edit mode of the application. Have this particular form, employee listing. Same way I'm looking at the form properties. And I can change the So what I wanted to do was, I wanted to change the name of the employee listing form to employee details. I went into the edit mode of the application, and I found that particular form. Under form properties, I changed the name from employee listing to employee details. Are we all here? Can we move? So that basically covers the first 2 tasks of this exercise, which was to create a new employee details form and the report. And the second was to access the report, which we have already seen. Now let's move into the exercise 4. We already covered this. Creating a relationship between 2 forms. I go into the live mode of the application. I just want to add some context before getting into this exercise. So this is the particular form which Travis created, and there is a particular field called whom do you want to visit. Right now, let's assume a new visitor comes in, and he would be entering the data. And when he comes to this particular field, whom do you want to visit, he will be typing out the name. Let's say I went into all the employee list, and I saw Ralph. Let's say the visitor wants to visit Ralph, and if he was typing in the name, let's say he would have typed in Ralph, or he could have typed in Ralph. So you see the problem. The same employee, according to the visitor's wish, has 2 names, RALF or RALPH. When it comes to the organization doesn't want to have that. It's like data duplication. So ideally, how we can avoid this is by having a drop down here where all the employee names would be listed, and the visitor can select the employee whom he wants or she wants to visit. In order to achieve that, we need a way to look into the employee information. So do we have employee information? Yes, we have the employee information here. Under employee listing, we have the employee details. What we are going to do is find out a way of connecting these 2 forms. I should be able to connect visitor sign-in form to the employee details. So there is a way to do that, and it's through a particular field called lookup. Just like we saw the different fields in the first session, We saw single line field, email field, date field. There is another particular field called Lookup Field, which will enable you to connect two forms so that the data will be connected. Now let's get into the edit mode of this application. I hope everybody are on the edit mode of this application. From the live mode on the top, you will see a link called Edit This Application. When you click on that, you will get into the edit mode of the application. So this, the gray and white screen, is where you will be able to make changes to the functionality of your application. So as I was telling, we are going to change a particular field from single line to lookup. So I'll delete this particular field from here. Whom do you want to visit? Because I'm going to use a different type of field to capture the names. I clicked on delete. Okay. Now I'll introduce the new field, which is the lookup field. This is where all the list of fields are present, and select this particular field. This is the lookup field. Click on that and drag and drop it to this particular area. Immediately, a new window has opened. So are we all here at this particular page? Can we move ahead? Thank you. So let me explain this new window which we have opened here. It has a list of applications which have been created by us. Right now, we are in the visitor registration application. It's already highlighted. And from this particular form, which is the visitor sign-in form, we are going to look in the data available in the employee details form. So that form is listed here. You click on that, and all the fields available in that particular employee details form will automatically get listed here. You can see that. So what a lookup field does is it creates a relationship between two forms. In this case, between the visitor form and the employee form. So out of these particular fields in the employee form, I pick up the field that I'm interested in, the name, which is the employee name. Have we all reached until this? Yeah, good. So let's proceed. Click on done. You can see that field automatically takes the name of the form which it looked into. Now it's employee details. So we have to change the name of the field. What was the name of the field? Whom do you want to visit? So I go here in field properties. I change it as whom do you want to visit? So what we did is, there was a whom do you want to visit field, which was of the type single line. But now we wanted to establish a relationship between the visitor form and the employee form in order to get all the employee names listed as a drop-down. So as I said, to connect two forms or establish a relationship, we have to use a field called lookup. Now we have implemented the lookup. So I've completed it, but let me demonstrate to that you again once more. It would be simple. I just deleted it. I'll do it again. There is a field called lookup. I drag and drop it here. A new window will be opened, which will list the form which I can look into, which obviously is the employee's form. And I pick the particular field which I want to look at, which is the employee name. Click on that. I got my lookup configured to make a minor change, which is change of name. Can we go ahead? Or all of you able to reach up to this stage? Anybody needs more time? Yes, you can. Now that we have completed here, let's go to the live mode of the application and see whether it is working. On the visitor sign-in form which we created the start of this workshop, we'll go to whom do you want to visit field, and now you can see it has changed into a drop-down field with all the employee names listed. Okay. Yeah, you can. You can do a search there. Yeah. Okay. So the question here was, if you have a list of names and it goes from A to S or C, how do you search for a particular name? You have this option here, which you can click it. And when you type in a name, it will be automatically shown up. What we are trying to achieve with this task is to establish a relationship between the visitor and the employee using a lookup field. Anybody needs help, please raise your hands. We are happy to help. Or if anybody wants me to demonstrate it again, let me know.
Does anyone want us to walk through setting up the lookup field again on the screen? Or are you guys feeling good about that? Lookup fields are super important in Creator. This is where we really start building relational databases where you can start moving data that you're entering in through one form and using it all over the app. So this is a really simple example of just taking employee information and then moving it over to some other use, right? But you can use lookup fields in all sorts of different ways.
hope we can move to the next step now. Okay. So till now, what we have achieved is, created the form, visitors, then we got all the data about the employees here, and now established a relationship between the visitors and the employees. Okay. What we're going to do next is, we're going to do an import of all the visitor information that we have till now. So as I mentioned, they were maintaining all the visitor information in a spreadsheet. Now we have to get all the past visitor information inside this app. So just like previous step, we are going to import all files here. Now let's go to this particular link. I'm going to do that. On a browser, please enter this particular field. Maybe you have already downloaded and it's not needed. I'll demonstrate that again. Zoho.2/creator workshop 2016. Zoho.2 Creator Workshop 2016. Okay. So I reached this particular page. I have two folders there, day 1 and day 2. Day 1 and day 2, and I click on day 1. And there would be a zip file here. Visitor management.zip. All right. Click on that. I click on that visitor management.zip. Have the files in that folder here. There's a download button over here. I click on download.
Anish, one second. To add to Anish, people who have already downloaded, it's like downloading again is not a thing.
Yep.
It's just to repeat on people who have downloaded again, right? So make sure who have downloaded and who have already imported the employee listing, continue with that.
Right. Once you have downloaded it, so I have downloaded it to my desktop. So I have all my files here. So I have two files here. The employee listing, which we already imported in the earlier section, and the visitor listing. I hope everybody are here. The two files, import employee listing and the visitor listing. In this section, we would be importing the second file, which is the visitor listing. We already imported the first one, which was the employee listing. And we go ahead and import this particular file into the application. Does everybody have it in your computer, in your laptop, the files? Okay. Now, this is a visitor sign-in form, and the corresponding report looks pretty much empty because we haven't made any entry till now. The one entry which Travis made is already there. So import the visitor listing file which was there in the downloaded folder. This is the way to go it. From the visitor sign-in report, there's something like a settings button here. Click on that. We'll have this import data option available. Click on import data. The default option would be an Excel. In the file type here, the default option would be an Excel. I just changed to CSV. We have a new page here, which is import data for visitor sign-in, step 1. I just changed the file type to from Excel to CSV. And click on next. Click on choose file. Have it downloaded in my computer. So I click on visitor listing. I've chosen the file and next. This is a different screen, which is like the step 2 of import. There you will see the column names in that particular file, the spreadsheet file, and the corresponding fields in the visitor form. All the names here, visitor name, phone number, email, date of visit, are all present in that file which we are importing. And what we are doing is mapping each of those columns with the fields in the visitor form. When I click here, what I see is the list of all the fields available there. And obviously, I click on name. The next 2 fields are automatically identified, so I didn't have to click on that. Third one, which is the date of visiting, I have to select a field. I go and click on date. Next one, who are you visiting? The appropriate field would be whom do you want to visit? Terms and conditions. Corresponding field would be I agree to the terms and conditions. And purpose of visit. Corresponding field would be reason for visit. Everybody able to reach up till here? What we were trying to achieve is mapping the fields from the form to the columns in the file which we are importing. So we have gone and matched each of the fields. Now there is another option here. It's called date format of the columns. As you can see, we have a date field here, date column, which follows the month, date, and year format. It's January 16, 2016. So the appropriate date format would be month, date, and year. There is an option, date format of the columns. When you look at it, you can see that it is following a month, date, year format. So here we have to change that accordingly. The next step which we are going to do is, we may get some errors while we are importing. So what action should be taken? So if I get errors, I don't want to import anything. So I have this option, don't import the data. I have three options here. I'll go and click, don't import the data. If there are any errors that are coming up, we don't want to import the data at all. Have we all reached here? If anybody needs any help? Now we have imported all the data successfully. Before we started this exercise, we could see that there was no record, no information about the past visitors. Now we have imported all those details here. Under visitor sign-in report, we have all the details. Everybody able to achieve this now? Anybody needs any help? So that completes this task. So what we try to achieve here is establish the relationship and imported the existing data which was available on a spreadsheet, both the visitor information and the employee information. So now our app is partially complete with all the information, the employee information, the visitor information, and how both are connected. We'll add more functionality to it in the next sessions. So that's the end of the session, and if anybody have any questions, please.